This presentation is on co-teaching and inclusion of special education students in the general education classroom. So to start, let's talk about understanding what co-teaching actually is. Co-teaching is a joint delivery of instruction by two equally qualified educators through the active engagement of both educators in every lesson. What it is not is other models that might look like co-teaching, such as a teacher and a helper, or a teacher and a paraprofessional, or a teacher and some other service professional like a speech-language pathologist or other specialist in the classroom with the teacher. It does not just mean having two adults in the same classroom. It actually requires equal engagement. In my experience, teachers have not really understood what co-teaching should look like in a classroom. Most co-teaching relationships that I've seen have been one teacher teaching the academic content area and assigning work to students while the other teacher assists or redirects off-task behavior. It's important that students see both teachers as credible and as equals. When one teacher acts as an assistant, then students will not trust that both teachers are equal partners in teaching the content area. They'll begin to see one teacher as an authority and the other one as a helper. This can have a negative effect on learning outcomes and on the sustainability of the co-teaching relationship. In the book Interactions, Friend and Cook state that in order to achieve positive outcomes, both educators should be actively engaged in the teaching of each lesson. So in order to be successful in co-teaching, we need to clearly define roles. We can't assume, guess, we have to plan effectively in order to have success. Co-teaching requires extra effort in collaboration. Teachers need to define roles, responsibilities, and routines, as well as building a general understanding of their partner and how they will implement the models of education in the classroom. If we're just sharing lesson plans with another teacher, that could be one level of collaboration. But if we're going to be teaching the same lesson in the same classroom, it creates a completely different set of systems that need to be established. We have to make and take the time to explore our views on teaching, classroom management, goals, and styles. And after we have defined our roles and what co-teaching will look like, we need to continually assess the success of the students, the teaching models, and the differentiation that we're providing. In the book Co-Teaching That Works by Benninghoff, there are ready-made checklists and questions that cover each area of preparation that we'll need to address as co-teachers. And we also should be able to expect from our school or school district correctly timed professional development. Research shows that many teachers have been put into co-teaching positions without proper preparation, training, or education. Professional development needs to take place before the co-teaching begins, and it needs to be ongoing in order to address issues after the teaching partnership is established. We need to then water the roots of what we have started. We can do this through reflection, self-analysis, school-wide analysis, surveying teachers, students, and parents. We have to maintain a commitment to ongoing growth in our understanding of how to build student engagement and learning. Again, in the book Co-Teaching That Works, there are several samples of surveys that you can provide for teachers, students, and parents. There's also an observation spreadsheet that would allow another educator or administrator to observe the two teachers in their roles and make notes about key areas that seem to be working well and where changes might need to be made. So what are the models of co-teaching that we could explore as we grow in our understanding of this method of teaching? There's a few that are mentioned throughout textbooks and research. One is one teacher teaching, one observing. As long as they're switching between these roles equally, this would be appropriate. We could also participate in station teaching or parallel teaching, and this YouTube video provides demonstrations of two teachers showing each of the models or approaches of co-teaching and how it might look in their classroom. So what are the benefits? Why should we explore this method of teaching in the classroom? Research shows that students from co-taught classrooms were exposed to more general education curriculum than students in special education classrooms. They scored higher on standardized tests. Their performance was higher, and students who needed special services reported that they felt better about receiving the services when they were in a general education co-teaching setting. So why is co-teaching a successful model? What is it that's creating these positive outcomes? Well, as teachers, we know that differentiation is a lot easier with two teachers in a classroom. We can vary the methods that we use more easily when the workload is shared. There's always the old adage that two heads are better than one. And it's true. Two teachers means more creativity in the lesson design. You have the experience of two people instead of just one, and you have two people in the classroom, so you can spend more one-on-one time with students, addressing their needs when they have a need, not having to tell them to just wait until you're available to talk to them. Also, student behavior is more easily redirected with two teachers. What one set of eyes misses, the other might catch. And students who might all otherwise fall through the cracks have more opportunities to have their learning needs met when they're in a co-teaching environment. In the research that I read for this presentation, they also pointed out that there were positive social outcomes. Students in special education tend to be not included as often in social activity by their peers. They're often seen as outsiders or those kids who are different and get special treatment and have a helper when they're at school. But when the students were in an inclusive classroom with a co-teaching model, there were many positive results. Students in general education became more aware of the capabilities, interests, and personalities of all of the students in the school instead of just passing off some of the students as different. Diversity became something that was more naturally a part of our world, or a part of their world when they were exposed to it every day. And students became more comfortable with diversity and began to understand that we all have strengths and weaknesses and unique aspects of our personality that are worth knowing. So with all of these positive benefits and access to professional development and training and collaboration time before we begin co-teaching, the outcome can be very positive for both the teachers and the students in the school.